Beautiful people of the internet. I hate it when I don't center up before I start a video. How are you? My name's Tim. This is Tim's Vape Lounge. Welcome to my lounge. As you can see behind me by this strip, I still have not went out and purchased trim. I swear, it's on the list to do this week. That will be a nice white, 2.5 inch, 3-inch piece of trim, almost like cove molding. It's going to look nice once I get it done. So you don't care about my trim. You don't care about getting some trim. You're here about the Hobo V2 clone. Made by Ivogo. I purchased it from angelcigs.com back in January, and I've just now really gotten to know it well enough that I'm comfortable in telling you what I think might work really well for you. If you like a nice, dense, warm vape that's just packed full of flavor and assaults your olfactory senses with its goodness. There are things about this Addy. Mine came with the copper top cap. It does have airflow on the top that you are free to use, which you would get to by, well, there's a Hobo logo there. Yeah, nope, this way. An engraving, and it's fairly deep. It's just my lighting, although it has gotten better, it isn't that good. And you would open up the top airflow like that, you get more clouds and less flavor. Yeah, I see no need to use it. And you can't just use the top airflow, because when you spin it around to position it over your coils, actually, if you build on the wrong side of the deck, you could. I'm going to have to try that. If you build on the left-hand side of the deck, you can use the top airflow and not use any of the other airflow. That might work well. But right now, you can't. If you build the way it was meant to, where the cutouts are in the drip well, you really can't do that. And I don't really think you need to. I think the airflow in this Addy is quite generous. It's certainly not, it's not like a cloud machine kind of open. And I have that closed off some. It's not, it's a little more restrictive than a freak show. And it should actually be way more restrictive than that, but it's not. It's an easy-going draw, and you can adjust it, and it might whistle on you depending on how hard you draw. This isn't particularly bad. I normally have to just go past the coil. There's a knife edge on the edge of the barrel. Kind of see it there. I normally close it off almost that much. About that much. I don't know. There you go. About that much. It's not much at all that is closed off. But that just makes it sound like whooshing air. Having said that, that will warm up your vape a little bit. And I actually have this built to a point where it's the perfect temperature for me, with the coils just centered up in the airflow. The whistle's not that bad. It's got a super generous deep well. Drip well, rather. It does have a deep drip well. That's what makes it generous, eh? It's just a nice vape. It's taken me a long time to learn to like this atomizer because I used to have problems with it putting hobo juice all up in my grill, and I don't want hobo sauce in my mouth. One of the reasons you will have that problem is if you build too tight to the terminals. If you bring your coils out off of those terminals, juice doesn't get trapped in between there. And then you can draw however you would like. And once you get that, smooth sailing. I like these. I like the vertical in this. I'd swear you get better flavor this way. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I like how you can position the coil very close to the edge. You could build bigger than you would like, or than this. This is a 2.4 millimeter build that you'll get to see here in a little bit. You'll get to see us put this in here. It's hard to over drip because it is a really, really deep well. And I like the way this wicks much better with a vertical in it, because I basically wick this the same way if I do horizontals in it. Whatever end is closest to the barrel, I just cut off and leave whatever's hanging out the end as a buffer wick. Because getting a wick to make the turn, head back down to the build or the drip well, and actually be useful, slim to none. It just gets in the way, so I snip it off. It's one of the reasons I normally use rayon, because rayon will take that quite nicely. You just trim from the bottom of your coil, your tail, and then droop it down into there, and the capillary action of rayon will take care of the rest. If you're going to run something stupid heavy or really high power, you're probably not going to be able to pull that off, but it works just fine. This is a version 2, not a version 2.1 clone. Like I said, I bought this in January. I don't know if the 2.1 was out yet. I explained some of the differences when we go down low. But boy, I think this is a really, really nice little Addy, and I've had a real change of heart about it. I think, even for the authentic money, I think in that $60 to $100 range, if you like flavor and a satisfying lung full of vapor, I think, just based on my experience, I think you've got this guy and the Tugboat V2 are hands down the winners, and I think they're both around 80 bucks, which is fair money. If you really want it small, I'd go with this guy. Otherwise, I kind of like the Tugboat more, and I don't know why. I just do. But it vapes really well. If I lost this tomorrow, I'd buy another one, for sure. It's nice. Let's go down low, and I'll show you around it. We'll put a build in it, and then we'll come back up top and wrap up any loose ends. Which basically means I'm going to watch the footage I've shot so far and see if there's anything I missed. But we'll see you down low. Hey folks, let's take an up-close look at our friend here, the Hobo V2 clone. This was made by Ivogo. It's a pretty straightforward, simple atomizer. It's also pleasantly small. I can't do a banana for scale, but there it is next to a Derringer, about like that, and oops, whoa, knocking shit over. And here it is next to a Tugboat V2 clone. It's a nice, compact, let's call it fun-sized atomizer. This has been out for quite some time. There is a V2.1 out, and I'll get into some of those differences as we tear this apart. One of the interesting things is it does have top airflow. You can see on this ring, perhaps, there is an airflow hole, and in this top cap you have airflow hole. And this top cap comes off, and you've got 1, 2, 3. Son of a bitch. Let's try back. Well, let's try up here. 1, 2, 3. Airflow holes. I should try and remember where my shit is. Let's pull this build out. Well, here's something interesting about it. This barrel / juice well comes right out. It leaves you with a pretty damn generous drip well. It is, yeah, very, very generous. Let's go ahead and pull this build out of here. I bought this driver because the Allen wrench that Ivogo sent, we'll just say wasn't terribly good. This was like $6. It's a Weehaw 0.9 by 0.035 inch driver. It's a really nice piece. It was like $5 or $6 on Amazon. Let me go ahead and pull this out. I have it built vertical because I really like this best with vertical in it. This is a 26 gauge build. It's a 0.59 ohm build. We're going to pull that out and we're going to shoot a little lower and build it with 24 gauge. If I can get the right tool for the job, which would be this guy. Get that out. There we go. And you can see our build deck. A spare piece of Canthol. Alrighty, so here is the business end of the Hobo. If we can get this mug to focus. There we go. Isn't that nice? So it is a 4-post design with this fairly healthy divider between the sections. Autofocus, sorry. Your services are no longer required. There we go. So you get this nice nice thick dividing wall, and you've got this insulator right under your positive block there that tends to get a bit melty when you really put the spurs to it. If you build too close to it, you will thrash that thing. So that's another reason I build vertical, as it makes it easier to maintain a good space there. And yeah, let's do that right now, shall we? Let me go rinse this quick, and I'm gonna set some stuff up and show you how I do this. Be right back. Before I do that, I almost forgot to mention the version 2.1 has a stainless center block, and this insulator is shaped a bit differently, and it might even be a different material. I don't quite recall. Also, you have some nice knurling on the bottom. You have an O-ring to seal this barrel on, and this is not an adjustable pin, although it does sit out. Shit. Which way? This way. That pin does sit out a... Oh, for Pete's sake. Anyways, this sits proud enough that you could run it on a hybrid, at least on this one. This 510 connector is so flipping big. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a big connector. But let me go rinse this off, and we'll slap a build in here. So, I forget what I was going to say. Wow, really? Let's start out like that, Tim. Oh, yes, so I build... One of the things to note with this guy is the amount of space between your coil and the center block will have a very big effect on how much hobo juice ends up in your mouth. One of the reasons it took me so long to come to grips with this Addy was figuring out how to get it to not spit in my mouth. And I'm not sure about you, but I don't much care for hobo juice in my mouth. So we are going to do a, we'll just call it a, what am I going to do? Let's do a 5-4 wrap. This first wrap is the one that always gets me. Don't mind me. I am going to wrap this off cam here. 3, 4, 5. That'll do. There's the first one done. I leave mine out pretty much as close to the barrel as I can get it. And I try, it'll sit about like this, and I try to get my coils to sit about here. Not quite centered, either side of center. And if you come more towards the center post, the positive block, it's a little bit easier to wick because you have more room in that well in the where this well is machined at. You have a little bit more room down in there as far as positioning if you go more here than here. So there's the first coil done. Sorry, it always takes me a second to figure out which way I want to wrap these, and I'm probably wrong again. It's okay. 2, 3, 4, just 5. No. That's 5. I normally use a coil and gizmo, like I've said before. It's just a pain in the ass to try and get it in shot. And this is a new way for me to shoot. I actually brought a table out here. Is that 5? Yes, it is. The other day I tried shooting this and wrapped everything completely wrong and just had a miserable time. So that's why we're redoing this. And I like the 24 gauge build more. So I bring it like that. Pretty much straight out. That positioning looks decent. So we are going to... Oh wow, I'm even in shot. That's amazing. Let's snug down this positive just a hair. And come on, let go. I check my positioning a lot when I build this because it's way easier to get it right now than it is to have to F with it later. So, you probably see in there, close. Sorry, I kind of need to be able to see this as well. There will do. Let me hold this in place. Give this a bit of a snug. Now, crank that lead down just a little bit. Again, just snug is the name of the game here. And that's sort of where we want to be now. What we're going to end up doing is pulling that up so that you can see the bottom of the coil over that lip. And we're going to pull it slightly over towards the negative block. We will do our final positioning after we get both coils in here. But for now, I can tighten this up a bit. Oh, I can just tighten it down, period. This will probably come in the 0.2 neighborhood. I do have these leads are going to be a little bit longer because of how I like to position close to the barrel and not close to the terminals. But that's usually what I'm shooting for with this guy, is in the neighborhood of 0.2 to 0.25 with 24 gauge. There's that. How that side is sitting now. And now we will build this side. I had to figure out how to get this closer. I'm not entirely certain because I can't get my camera a whole lot lower to bring the shot tighter. Take one last look at this. Make sure we have the right number of wraps. Okay, we do. I had such a mess the other day in editing, I just gave up and said I'd reshoot. So we're going to bring this almost but not quite straight out. I want the positive lead to make a gentle slope or gentle run for where this is sitting for preliminary positioning. And I really need to improve the lighting down here. So we're going to give that a little turn, and we're just snugging these. We're not killing them yet. I just want to hold these sort of in place to put this barrel on and evaluate positioning right now. And that looks okay-ish. It's certainly not great, but we will tweak that. Yeah, that's I don't have those snugged up nearly as much as I thought. These, you know, I like grub screws, but it is they are kind of a pain in the ass. I see why a lot of people don't like them. Okay, that is good for preliminary positioning. And put that off to the side. Give that a whole lot more love. We're going to end up tightening these leads a few more times. Every time I position, I give them a re-snug. And then after dry burning and getting the coils to fire evenly, I try to tighten them back down too. There we go. So essentially, what you can do to kind of get this right is if you set the bottom of your coil even with the bottom of the positive block slash the top of the insulator, you're pretty well set for height. And if you put the center of your coil, pardon me, come over here, put the center of your coil almost in front of this gap in the between the positive and negative block, you're pretty much there. So let's do that. And that is going to be too far out. Wow, that's a train wreck. Might have to rebuild that coil. Lead needs tightened up something fierce. So I'm going to draw that in a little bit and tighten it up, and then use tension on this rod to try and get that bottom wrap tightened up. It's almost like doing a single strand build the way that, I don't know if you watch Yosh Vaporgate's videos, the way that he does his single strand center post build in his Mephisto. That looks, actually that's money right there. Fix that right up. That is what we're looking for. Pretty much straight. The bottom of that coil is sitting just about level with this lip, and that is what we want. So that's good. That came out well. Now we just gotta reclip that and make sure we're tightened down. Sorry, that was a really small piece of Kanthal to clip, and I just hold it over my little wastebasket to do. Yep, that's plenty tight. And so is that. And we gotta tweak this guy. I made these itty bitty rods out of some 3/32 music rod because I normally use a coil gizmo, and I made a rod for it for 3/32 because I have a 2mm rod and a 3mm rod. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you put this dude through here, and I put some Kanthal in here, and you twist a coil under tension, and it comes out really well every time. Now we're just going to take this dude. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to fix that. That positive lead should be a little bit tighter. But it'll clear the barrel, and it'll be pretty much the right spot. Well, maybe it'll clear the barrel. Holy shit. Okay. See if we can salvage this. I don't have the highest of hopes here. So we're going to loosen up this positive side, give him a shove in. We got about 1/8 of an inch. Well, I don't even know if it's been 1/8. I have to take him in a fair bit. I have to take in a little bit on the negative side too. Hey, this happens. That's not bad. Might need to move a hair more. Okay, so here's where we are sitting. This is actually a real challenge because my monitor is so in the wrong place for this. Or this table is completely in the wrong place. Now I have to take a look at it. That looks okay to me. That's not bad. So let's go ahead and see what she reads. 0.2 on the money. Everything seems alright. We are right out. Oops. Come on. We are right out to that barrel. Which is alright because, you know, we're not sitting on it. This one needs to come up just a smidge, which is alright. Get the right tool for the job, eh? And like I said, get the right tool for the job. I'm going to break out my new screwdriver set. I saw a recommendation from a Redditor for this Harbor Freight precision screwdriver set, and yeah, it's not bad. It was $7, and yeah, I'm okay with it. Of course, I've only used the bit that came on it because I haven't had occasion to use anything smaller yet, or anything else. I've just been building Phillips head stuff. I will borrow this flathead bit for a second. Just gonna lift and separate a hair. Yep, that looks pretty good. So let's throw this on a mod. Give it some sauce. Get these coils tweaked and happy. I'm gonna use the old Nemi for this. Well, the no logo Nemesis clone. I'm in no way trying to convince you guys of something being anything other than what I say. Not trying to pass this off as authentic. Oh, this flippin' thing. Such a crappy switch. I don't know if the real Nemesis has such a poorly made switch or not. I assume it's this, well, actually, it is this design. It's just hopefully machined a whole hell of a lot better. Because this thing is always loosening up. Mucho gooder. So here we go. Let's see if I can get a decent shot of this. Hot leg. Which isn't just a band by that guy from the darkness. You know, Justin Hawkins, who's the singer, from the Darkness had a band. Forget what I think they called it, man rock. This is that sort of, you know, 80s hair metal type rock. So now I get to pay attention to this because I can't watch this from my computer. That looks better. Yeah, actually looks pretty good too. I'm not even super picky about how these are angled. I don't much mind. This one's a little high. Right. Take another look. That's alright. And if those cool down and I unlock this, use all a smidge, just a little touch here, because something's not firing even here. Man, that coil is slow. And those leads are all making really good contact. You just have to put some. They're looking more even. It's good enough for me. Let this cool down a smidge while I trim up some wick. Nice thing about these, you can use whatever you want. I use rayon in it most of the time, but to be honest with you, my Kogan dough was closer. So we're going to use some Japanese cotton. It's cotton labo, but near enough the same thing. And this isn't going to be a, you know, super high power wick job. It'll keep up, but it's not going to be, I mean, if you're all about the clouds, bro, clouds, this isn't going to probably be your addy, nor will a vertical build probably be what you're shooting for. But I think I get a really, really nice flavor. The way this airflow works seems to go quite nicely with this setup like this. And with my preference in vape, this is a nice setup. Let me put this back on. Yeah, I have that locked. Put this back on the ohm meter just to make it easier for us to see, and I'll clean some of the stuff up, get it out of the way. I will keep these around. There we go. I'm a big fan of maestroing, which is you just very, very little pressure, but you're just trying to make this into a fluffy little tube of cotton. And I first heard the term from Trevor Jones, who watches Maestro Vape's videos, and I'm guessing they're pretty friendly because they do hangouts together on occasion. And those two guys are just a joy to watch. They really enjoy building. So we don't need a whole ton of wick here, so we're just gonna snip that in half. Give the end a bit of a twist. I have no depth perception. I was never allowed to operate a crane for engine changes while I was in the Air Force, just in case anybody cares. And pull it down to about there-ish. It's not hugely important. Because we're going to trim it. And same thing here. Push it down through. Grab it. It feels pretty healthy. Okay, so here's what we're working with right now. It looks a bit stupid. There's no way that's ever going to work. So what I do is oh wow, this is going to be super hard from this angle. I come in from, oh sweet goodness. Let's do it on this side. Okay, so what I do is I make a tiny cut where about this O-ring is on the negative side. And then, oh, there you can see it. Then I'll bring this across this way and just kind of put a cut in here at a pretty good angle. Right about like that. So that's what we are going to end up with there. Let me spin this around. So much easier that way, eh? So that's what we end up with. And then you can take this and just drop her right in. And now we can use that whole well quite nicely. Let me take a look at this myself. It goes through the camera, kind of sucks. So this is one of the reasons we leave some tail up here, is I need to pull this down a smidge. Actually cut that a bit short. That's okay. We're still plenty fluffy all the way around this. And I won't have to trim as much off the top now. I do. Actually, with this one, we're just gonna kind of clean it up. That'll be it. Okay, there's that one. Now this one, let's try the same thing. Give it the tiniest little snip there. And pull it across this way, and I'm working upside down, so I really hope I don't screw this up. Come across like that. Tuck that in. Like that. Now let me take a look at it and see what we got here. I'm pretty happy with that, so we'll just go ahead and trim that like that, trim that roughly like that, which didn't do a whole hell lot of anything, whole bit of anything. There we go, and that is now whipped up, coiled up. All that remains for us to do is put it back together, put some juice on it, and enjoy it responsibly. And that goes on there, that goes on there. Oh, I should mention O-rings. I didn't mention those. Got an O-ring up here for the top airflow control that I never use, and 2 O-rings here on your juice well / barrel assembly to keep this thing from leaking. And to be fair, you have to, oh my goodness, you have to over drip this thing so hard to get it to leak. This doesn't really leak at all for me. It is very, very impressive in that regard. So yeah, let's take it up top and see how we get on with it. Is one of the things that tends to bother me sometimes is yeah, the barrel on threads, and it never does when you want it to, and it always does when you don't want it to. But let's see up top and see what we think here. You know, I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm getting to be anywhere near good at this. I would say serviceable, perhaps, on a good day. But I just watched through what I've shot so far. We're here for the final remarks thing. I figured this time I would actually do this the way most other people do it, just where you shoot the up-close build part first, and then take it from there. So I did that. I shot the up-close bits, then I shot the intro. Now I'm shooting the outro, since I've watched what I shot. Pardon me. I have to mention that if you're going to run this, have your shit in order. If you're running Trustfire batteries in a simple mod clone, you really shouldn't build a 0.2. That's a bad idea, my friend. But if you have yourself some good batteries, and we're talking 20 amp plus rated batteries, you can run it in a mech. Just look at your amp draw, do the calculations, do the math, because I believe a 0.2, I should double check this, a 0.2 I think is drawing 18 amps. Hey, I've got a laptop, I've got Steam Engine, right? And Ohm's law. 0.2. Lock the voltage. So at 4 volts, at a 0.2, you are drawing. This way. I don't know if you can shit ass. See that? You are drawing 20 amps. You are, you know, you're listening to Molly Hatchet at that point. You are flirting with disaster. Having said that, there are shit tons of people. I feel comfortable doing that. If you don't, put another wrap on it. If you make it a 6 wrap, you're going to end up closer to 0.3. You're going to be drawing less than that. A stainless mod isn't exactly your best choice. I went to this guy and found with much less voltage drop that, by golly, that wicking I put in there just wasn't keeping up. It was a little too thin. So I used a thicker piece and rewicked it the same way. And it, boy, is that good. Boy, this is one of the best flavor builds I've had in anything yet to date, and I'm not entirely certain why. By the way, it's about 80 watts that you're putting into it from a mech that way. Boy, is it good. The flavor is really, really good. Vapor production is satisfying. It's not, you know, you're not going to win a comp. And I think if you're after flavor, you're probably not looking for that anyway. But I do require a certain volume of vapor to get a feeling of satisfaction from taking a pull off of something, and this does it. That's really nice. That's vanilla and tobacco. It's glorious. It's really good. You know, for what did I pay for this? 10, 15 bucks, I think, for the clone. Might have been 20, I don't know. It's an absolute no-brainer. It's a really good Addy. I really, really like it. It is a comfortable place to build. Of course, I wouldn't have a receipt for it because it was an online purchase. But it's an astonishing value that took me a long time to figure out. But I'm really glad that I stuck with it, because I had a few builds in here that were good. It just kept putting juice in my mouth, and it's because I was building way too close to the posts. The juice was getting trapped up in there, and every time you take a draw, you can see you are down the maw of that dragon. You've got nothing but terminal. So that's what you're going to be sucking on. So if you got juice stuck in there, that's what you're getting. Boy, is that good. Boy, is that good. No real ramp-up time, so to speak. It does come online pretty quick. I don't think there's a whole lot I would change about it if I were running it regulated. I think I'd stick to pretty much the same build, just because since you're going vertical, you only have so much space to go in there, and we're bathing that coil in airflow right now. You could get 2 more wraps on there. If you lowered the coil a smidge, you could fit 2 more wraps on there, which would probably put you 0.35-ish, maybe 0.4, without looking it up. And then you're going to need a little bit more power. You'll probably want to run that, depending on your preference and temperature, anywhere between 70 and 100 watts. And then again, you can use 26 gauge. I had a 26 gauge build in here. It was 6 wraps, and it was nice. It was a very nice build. It didn't quite give the same, how would I describe this? Clarity, thickness of flavor that I'm getting out of this build, but still a really good vape. And it wasn't as warm either, but it was more power friendly. With this on a mech, this type of build, your performance will drop off in a manner which it will be noticeable and quite possibly very annoying. With the 26 gauge build in there, because it was a 0.6, it was easier on the battery, and I took it with me to a vape shop and vaped on it pretty much the entire time I was in there. And it was a nice and pleasant vape the whole time. And when I got home, that battery was at like 3.6. And you notice a little less vapor, but it's not a big difference. Whereas like on a more massive build, you do notice that drop off in performance. Remember what I was saying about the 510 pin being super long? And you see that that is not down flush. That's all the further this thing screws onto this box. It works fine on my SIG. It screws down just fine on that. When I run it on the Nemesis, I leave a bit of gap up here at the top ring, because if I don't, my switch sticks so far out, it's actually quite difficult to use, because you have to hit it right in the center, and then I just feel like a newbie, because I'm like pushing the button like that to vape. And, well, I'll deal with a gap at the top. For the most part, I'm going to run it on the SIG or on the SIG Green. I hope you like it. I hope this was informative. I am going to have to do a bunch of editing because the build section turned out much longer than I wanted it to. That kind of happens when I'm flying in new territory. Because, let me see if I can spin this around. Don't mind my kitchen. I haven't done dishes since dinner. But, you know, I've got this impromptu lighting rig here, made with the finest garment rack that the dollar store had, because I could clamp and zip tie some lights to it. And you could see I have one aimed kind of above my head and one aimed up at the ceiling. I would like a little bit more coverage. I'd love to have a light just over my head to help fill in back here, but I'll probably end up having to do a small, almost like a drop light, kind of behind me and on the floor, and bounce that light up. My wife is slightly annoyed more so with my making video purchases than she is my vape purchases. So I don't know how soon that's going to happen. And coming up, oh Christ, I grimmed. Coming up next in the queue, I did a big-ass video on the Freak Show. I'm going to redo it. Right now I've got a single Clapton in here, and I don't want to take it out because it's such a flavor machine with it, and it's surprisingly ridiculous vapor for a single coil, but I'm going to tear it out because it leaks like a son of a bitch. I built it 2.4 mil, and I think I should have went 2 mil because I can't get it pulled back far enough off of the airflow to stop leaking so much, even when you paint your happy little clouds on there. So, video upcoming on this. I'll be doing video on the sub-tank soon. I will be doing video on the Aqua V2. Those will all be coming up in the next week, week and a half. I shoot these videos when I have free time, and although I have lots of free time, it has to be free time with certain conditions met, like the kids not screaming and stomping around and shit like that. So I do these in the evening, and I've already stayed up too late to do this one, but that's okay. It's not like I was going to fall asleep anyway. So that's that. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. If there's anything you want to see, let me know. If you want to BS, timsvapelounge@gmail.com, or find me on Google+. Somebody explained to me how that works. I kind of know, but at the end of the day, I really, really don't. You know, like how to start a hangout with somebody and shit. I don't know. So yeah, I'd love to help you out. Please join CASA.org. I'm telling you, guys, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. It costs a little bit of your time, but they're in it for us. And I don't want some boneheads who don't know the first thing about smoking, quitting smoking, or vaping to be making rules for us. I don't want a guy accepting an envelope full of goods, services, or money to be making the decisions about our vaping. I'd like them to be informed by people whose job it is to inform people in positions of power. This would be lobbyists, and that's kind of what CASA does for us. So please do that. As always, thank you for not smoking. I think this bad fella and I are going to be out so we can do some editing. See you on that next video. Take care.